So we're in Ridge Cemetery, just across the Mississippi border in Itawamba County, just come through Red Bay, Alabama. From the road up there, just a bit further is the small town of Golden, Mississippi, Itawamba County. And this took us a little while to find it, but this here is Rosie Elizebeth Presley. Born February 16th, 1861, died July 30th, 1924. Now the date of birth's wrong on there, it's actually 1862 she was born. And she is Rosella Presley, who was Elvis's great grandmother. There were two sisters, Rosella, or Rosie, Rosella and Rosalind Presley. Both sisters were never married, but had I think 15 children between them. Elvis's great-great-father, Vernon Presley Jr. left home soon after the girls were born, and it seems that mother, Martha Jane Wesson, she left soon after. On later censuses, the girls are living with a step-grandfather, William Steele, who had married their grandmother, Millie Wesson. And in 1878 is the year that possibly Rosella's first child is believed to be, whether it was Valley Joseph Steele or whether it was actually Walter Presley. The confusion probably over Valley Joseph Steele having the surname Steele, whereas all the other children that Rosella Presley gave birth to, all 9 or 10 children, I can't remember now, but they all had the Presley surname. None of them had any of their father's surnames. The Presley girls have been living south of Fulton, quite a few miles south of here actually, in the Tilden community. Rosella possibly in a relationship with Tom Hussey until 1888, but he married in January of 89, ending the relationship. By now Rosella was mother to 5 or 6 children, depending on whether Valley was her first or not. And Noah Presley, Elvis's great uncle, was her youngest of those 5 or 6. Around this time she started an affair with John Wallace down in the Tilden community. Rosella moved from Tilden in 1896, moving just north of Fulton, because she was pregnant with a married man's child, which obviously wasn't looked on favourably at the time. Well, never is, but she moved north and she gave birth to Jessie Dunnan D. McLowell Presley on 9th of April 1897. However, it's said that John Wallace had such a bond with Rosella Presley that he actually upped and moved his family not far from where Rosella had settled, north of Fulton, so that they were still close together. So Rosella's gave birth to Jessie, who of course, like all the other children, kept the Presley surname, passing it on to his son Vernon, and of course then on to Elvis. So I was in Tupelo 2 years ago and I put on the video there where I said that following the custom of a child having the father's name, by rights Elvis should have been Elvis Wallace, but that never would have had the same hook as Elvis Presley, that's for sure. Rosella had more children, possibly with John Wallace. Nobody fully knows. It is said that they knew who their fathers were, and that the fathers, especially John Wallace, would support the children as best he could. So they would have been men. These men were showing up at the house, and it's hard to, as local historian Julian Riley said, it'd be difficult for them not to have known who their father was growing up. So although John Wallace remained married to Elvira, a woman called Elvira, he had quite a number of children with her as well, but John and Rosella, it seems their bond was quite strong, and for the rest of their lives they never lived far from each other until Rosella then died of cancer in 1924. We've come from Ridge Cemetery. 10 miles away is Salem Cemetery, just off the main highway going up back north and south there, because in here is buried John Wallace, who was the great-grandfather of Elvis. And here he is. I just walked straight past him. John Wallace. Born August 1st, 1853, died November 17th, 1935. After the Civil War, he left for Texas, as many men did after the Civil War, with jobs so sparse in this part of the world. And he had married his first wife in Texas, and they had a child. Soon moved back to Mississippi, though, after his first wife died, probably in childbirth. So he was a widower with a young child to look after. All his family were back here in Mississippi, so he headed back this way. However, there's no trace of any son on census records in 1880, which would suggest that the little boy also died very young. At the end of 1880, he married Elvira, with whom he'd eventually have 9 children with Elvira. I don't know, it's about 10 miles south of Fulton. Fulton is again about 10 miles south of here. There was a very popular White Springs resort where people would go to rest up, have a bit of a vacation, and John Wallace was apparently a very good fiddle player. His services would have been in demand in the resort, and through being a musician, he would have caught the eye of many of the young girls and women that were around that time. It's a very ornate gravestone. One of whom was, of course, Rosella Presley. And as I said, although John Wallace was married at the time to Elvira, it seems he and Rosella struck up a relationship that resulted in the birth of Elvis's grandfather. And of course, later on, Jessie D was to marry Minnie Mae Hood and would give birth to Vernon Presley down in Fulton, which we'll try and find his birthplace in the next few days. So this was Salem Cemetery. This is Barnes Road, and let me tell you, this is not an easy place to find. This is where Vernon Presley was born here, 10th of April 1916. House that once sat on this site. As I said, they got married in 1933, Vernon and Gladys. So Vernon's father, Jessie D, moved to Tupelo shortly after his brother Noah Presley moved to East Tupelo. Jessie followed and left this part. This is north of Fulton, Itawamba. So, like I said, it's not an easy place to find. I don't recommend you coming up here if you don't know, if you haven't done any research on how to get up here. I'm not sure even if sat-nav would find this place. It's way out, up in the woods here in Itawamba County. It's taken me about half an hour to get here from Tupelo. So it would have been very peaceful here, if nothing else. There's just the one home opposite there. The houses are very sparsely laid out up in these parts. Okay, it's just ticked off the bucket list. Always wanted to find it, so here it is. So like I said, Vernon was born here, but along with his mother and father, Jessie D and Minnie Mae, or Dodger. They moved to Tupelo, I think, sometime in the 20s, to East Tupelo, sorry, at that time. I said Noah, who was Jessie's older brother, moved there first, and Jessie followed not long after. They were the only two of Rosella's children to actually move to Tupelo at that time.